Gibson, and I'm your host on our new series, Socialization of Abuse. Abuse is so rampant in our society, especially around the world. I've been on all of the continents with the exception of Antarctica. But one day I'll get there. I got as far as Buenos Aires, Argentina, but one day I'll get there. I want to bring a highlight to something today. Norm therapy is our innovative interviewing technique that we use. It's akin to somewhat of an interrogation, but not as invasive or as brutal. It's a way to get the mind to start thinking in ways that it otherwise would have ever done had it not been for norm therapy. Most people say that when we're in a session with them and our techniques that we use, as well as the training that's received by our norm therapists, they oftentimes say in their critiques of us is that they've never been asked these kinds of questions. And it enlightened them, and they remembered things that they otherwise would not have ever remembered. And it brought a new perspective to their pain, but also it shows them that they're just a little bit more resilient and definable as we would want them to be. Most often when people are hurt or in pain from abuse, it's hard for them to articulate what's going on in their lives. So a norm therapist, when dealing with abuse, look at the whole person concept. I guess that would be a homeopathic way of paying attention to everything about that individual, their lives, their countenance, the experiences they have, the people with whom they operate, the toxicity of their environments, and many other things we take into factor. But also, most people on the planet are cowards. And I hate to put it that way, but it's true. It's not because they're cowards and they, of course, are afraid of their own shadows. It's just their shadows, but they're cowards because no one's ever taught them to fight. No one's ever taught them that they can hit back, or they can stand up to the bully, or they can do things that they otherwise fell prey and victim to over the years. If you took all the police, excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat, I apologize. If you took all the police in the world, all of them, matter of fact, if you took all the police in the world that's ever existed since the beginning of humanity, and if you took all of the firemen and the soldiers, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, of every government in the world that's ever lived, and you took every single protector, the FBI, the Interpol, the CIA, all of them, you put them in one group of people, all of them, in all of the history of the world, all of the wars, the Genghis Khans, you name it. If you put all of them in one group, and if you look at all of the people who existed over that same period of time, you will quickly surmise that only 0.75% is represented by that group. That means less than 1% of the people who have ever lived have protected our societies and protected us. Just 1%. The other 99% go along their days farming, going to school, becoming professors, becoming engineers, business leaders, becoming Henry Ford, becoming Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Elon Musk. That's what the other 99% does. But that 1% protects the world, or that less than 1%. And you need to look at that in perspective. So if that's the case, that means that many people that come to norm therapy, they're not cowards because they're afraid of anything. They're just cowards because they've never been taught not to be a coward. That's it, nothing else. And we get to the root of that and we help them. And we'll talk more about that. But without any further ado, there's a lady that's been working with our organization. She's on with us today, I think you know. Her name is Paula Alvarado Moreno, a wonderful lady who she's a workaholic, just an amazing soul. She rolled her sleeves up, came into the organization, our nonprofit, Abuse Refuge Org, and she worked tirelessly with leadership and the people in the organization, and she constantly brought in stellar results to every task she's ever conducted or been involved in. Just truly an amazing person, and her personality is very strong. She's seemingly the epitome of the person we like to have at our organization. So without any further ado, I'm going to talk about a few subjects too, but without any further ado, I'd like to invite Paula to come in and tell us a little bit about herself. Paula, can you come in?
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Hi, how are you today, Paula? Good to seeing you again. This is always good. Um, I wanted to give you this laudatory commendation for coming in with us today because you are one of our stars at our organization at the nonprofit. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you so much first for this invitation. I really appreciate that you come with me for this. My name is Paula Alvarado. I'm from Bogota, Colombia. I migrated to the USA in 2019, and I started working with this beautiful organization 6 months ago. I've been learning so much about aero and nerve therapy, all the kind of abuses, the types of abuses that you treat, and how we can heal from the bottom of our heart to be better for ourselves, for this society as well.
Well, being that you're coming in from out of the country, most people don't know who may be watching this video now, or that in the future, when they watch it after we're viral and all of that, they really don't know what international travel is like. They don't know what the culture in Colombia is, where I spent a little bit of time, by the way. Bogota, Medellin, Cali, Barranquilla, San Andreas. I've been all over the country. But um, but they don't know what that feels like, and they're unable or incapable of articulating international travel because a lot of people don't travel. What was your biggest obstacle coming into the United States traveling from
Well,
Colombia?
for me, it was first the language. I'm still working on that.
Wait a minute, you're
Came
speaking English like this after just 3 years, is what you're saying. Three, four, what is that? 19, 5 years. You're speaking
five
English.
years. Yeah.
Wow. What?
Mhm.
Wow. You know what? Most people spend years in a country and don't speak any of it. But
Yeah.
that's commendable, very commendable. So the language, tell us about that. That must have been really difficult. How did you overcome that?
Well, yes, it was before I came, I took a fast course to learn the basics of English because I knew that when I came here, I was immersed with a culture that the place where I live, they just speak English. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
5% of the population here are Latinos like me, but
Right?
95% speak English all the time. So that was one of my biggest fears, to maybe don't understand, to lose in a big city. When I first came here, I went to New York and I spent a week there. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a huge city, like 10 times Bogota. I was scared, maybe I lost, or I don't know, something could happen to me on the street. Even if I feel safe, it was a
You didn't
different
know.
place. So
Everything was
yeah,
a surprise.
you never know. I always be aware of what was surrounding me. Um, I was I was scared when I took this decision, but even when I was scared, I feel like I really want to do this. I really want to come here and be better for myself and start working on my dreams, reach more goals that I already reached in Colombia. And it was when I talked with my family, when I took this decision for me, for my future.
Well, that I think that's the best possible answer you could give. I mean, self-preservation in any society is always priority and number one. You have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of anyone. You just do.
Correct.
And I think you went about it the right way. Most people don't understand that you normally take your attitude and your customs and traditions with you when you go to another country. So you're able to do things that inhabitants and people already live in the country can't really do because their mindset is already like that of the country from where they come. So you come to the United States and you see very smart people, much smarter than you and me, much smarter,
Yeah.
doing small-minded things And you look at them and you go, wow, is it really small-minded? Or is it that their environment shaped them into that position and they don't have the knowledge of what's out there in order to make their situation ameliorate their situation. So, and I think that that's oftentimes the case. Have you seen that kind of behavior in the US?
Yes, a lot. Like Colombia is a beautiful country, but unfortunately for us, we're recognizing the war for the wrong reasons. And sometimes when I say, "Oh, I'm from Colombia," people start to say those kind of things. So
Right.
at the beginning, it was a big shock for me because never told me about drugs or anything about my country before. And when I came here, mm, I was upset that that happened to me. I remember the first time I went to New York and I was talking with some guys and they were very rude about my country. And I was so upset that I almost cried. But then with the time I realized that their mind was, wasn't open as other people.
He was
So
not
that changed
informed.
to me.
Right. But see, most people who are uninformed,
Mhm.
here's something you need to remember. If you can
Yes.
remember this,
Exactly.
it'll
Yeah,
never
that was
bother you
the
again.
first time that it happened to me. And then it happens more than once, like 10, 20 times. But now it's different for me. Now, when I hear those comments about my country, I like to sit with a person and start talking to them and show them that my country is more, that is beautiful, that we have so much to offer, that my language is beautiful, and that it's okay because it's not just my country, it's because my first language is Spanish, and some people are uncomfortable with me when I'm speaking Spanish in a public place, like
Exactly.
those comments like, what are you speaking this? Are you speaking about me? Most people that don't know other language, they think that when we are speaking in our language, we're speaking about you. So are
Right.
you talking about me? And I was like, no, I didn't notice that you were here.
They do that mostly with Hispanics and of course Latinos in the United States. Excuse me. And I think that it's very it's borderline xenophobic,
Mhm.
borderline. But I think that, when Asians are speaking Chinese or Japanese or Arabs are speaking Arabic or Farsi or any of the other languages, people don't really say anything
Mhm.
much, but it's especially with Spanish, because I think most Americans believe through all the propaganda that everyone who speaks Spanish must be from Mexico, or must be
Yeah.
from Puerto Rico, or must be from, Colombia. They don't know that there are different places, different cultures, different regions of the world, different kinds of people. They don't know that. Not that anything's wrong with Mexicans. I spent a lot of time in Mexico City. Mexicans are some amazing human beings,
Yes, they are
but
beautiful.
oh my God, yes. But because of the sensationalism of the border crossings and all of that, who
Yeah.
wouldn't want to come to a better land if it's riddled with poverty and there's work available? And a lot of farms and a lot of rural areas, the same people who don't want the immigrants to come, they're actually servicing those areas and picking fruit and doing the kinds of labors that most Americans don't want to do. This is a
Yeah,
fact.
that's so true. Yes.
But I do believe in legal immigration.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
it's easily obtainable if people were. I think the solution is creating programs in the departure countries
Hmm.
where people are incentivized by the government to learn a little bit about English, incentivized by their own government to go to the United States and have a relationship with the immigration department and getting cleared through their own country forward at a very decent price instead of what they're going through now.
Yes.
They're paying coyotes, all kinds of thousands of dollars to get to the border and perhaps to get through, and
Yes.
sometimes illegally and otherwise. So, and all of these things are happening. This is just my hypothesis, my well-educated guess, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I think that the US, any government, whether it's Republican or Democrat, could easily work with that, with the different countries, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, Brazil, you name well, not necessarily, they don't do much migrating from Brazil, but they do.
Yeah.
But from all the different countries, I think a circumstance could be set up where people could legally, just as many that's crossing illegally could be brought in and actually put on a correct path. I think
Yes.
it could be done, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
because migrating is hard. When I came here, I came with a program in a legal form, but it's hard. I knew people that they cross the border. What you say, coyotes, that's it's first it's illegal, but also it's very dangerous for you. You never know what's gonna happen with you. So I think the same as you. Maybe if governance work in a political situation better for migrants, it could be a better situation for us.
we're all
And for
people,
the
you're
country
right.
too. It could be a win-win.
Yes, we're all people, and I think we need to start with the humanization of the problem first. Let's find out what the humans need. Once you forget what people want, always find out what they need first. And so, anyway, I can talk to you about this all day, and this is good. So
Yeah.
tell us, are you married? Do you have kids? How's your home life?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to marry. It's gonna be
Yeah,
2 years since that happy day. We don't have kids yet. We're not
why
planning.
not? Oh,
No, we're not planning. I'm a teacher as well, so I work with kids for 10 years now.
okay,
I love them, but kids are expensive and exhausting.
a lot of work. Huh.
Yes, they're a lot of work, and I feel like when we decide to expand our family and add a new member, we want to do it for the right things, with a better situation. Right now, we're having a good situation, but we want to improve. My husband is from Puerto Rico. He's a Latino person down
Puerto
there.
Rican. Been there many
Yeah,
times too. Been there
yeah.
many. Where? What part of Puerto Rico?
Villalba,
Yeah.
down near to Ponce.
Ponce not Rincon, but Ponce, right?
Ponce, yes.
Yeah, I think I
Rincon
know.
is a little bit farther than that.
Yes, it is. Yes. Okay, I
Mhm.
know. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there, but definitely I know San Juan, Ponce, Humacao. I love Puerto Rico. I love
Yeah,
that country.
it's near to Macau.
Humacao. I think I know what it is. I think I do know where it is.
Yes,
But okay, well that's good. Well, fantastic. So puertorriqueño
Colombiana.
colombiana. I know that one so well. I love the movie Colombiana too, by the way. But but and that's a fun movie. But it is quite stereotypic.
Mhm,
It's very stereotypic, in Spanish, stereotypical. It really is.
mhm.
The drug dealers, I'm gonna kill you, and let me wipe out your whole family, and give me
Yeah,
my
and the
money.
accent.
Yeah,
Like how we were
I
just talking, like we have like a stereotype, and people think that all Colombians, all Puerto Ricanos, all Mexicans are exactly the same because they
yes,
are not culturized. They don't know that, for example, Colombia has 32 cities, not just
yes,
4 or 3 that they are the most tourists, of course, but we have a lot of accents, a lot of culture, a
yes, we
lot of
do.
different food, even the way
Even
we
Indios,
wear clothes. Yes.
yes, yes. You even have indigenous people there. It's amazing.
With
When
the
I was,
border with Brazil, we have a lot of
yes,
Indian people there.
yes, and just as primitive as they want to be.
Mhm.
But smart, up to date in a lot of areas. Sometimes you see them with a cell phone. You go, "What? Hey, how is this possible?" By the way, but anyway, um, I love that part of the world though. It's dangerous though. It's very dangerous.
Yes.
Not just the people and drugs and all that, but like the animalitos, the different kinds of crocodiles
Yeah, we
and
have wild,
snakes and
wild.
yes. The jungles are no joke in that part of the world. And I've tramped all over that place back when I was in special forces. But it's
Mhm.
no joke. Do you have black palm there if I remember correctly? Black palm?
Yes,
Yeah.
we got one.
When I try to
People,
explain black palm to people, they don't understand it. They just don't understand that a tree about maybe this big in diameter, and sometimes bigger and smaller, goes straight up, but it's like a billion spines coming out of it. And if you're
Mhm.
traipsing around at night trying to get through from one part of the jungle to the other, you're going to run into some black palm, and it goes through anything, and it cuts deep. It's the most dangerous thing I think in a jungle. Forgive me, other than the different kinds of poisonous snakes, the fertile lances, and all that. What you guys have there.
Mhm.
Well, enough about Colombia for a minute. Tell us about and this is, kind of personal, but tell us about what has been your other than English, what has been your biggest obstacle in the United States? If you had to give advice to anybody coming to the country who wants to do well, who wants to do it legally, who wants to be on that path, what did you have to overcome other than the language?
I think one of the scary part was figure out that I didn't know myself. So because of that, I did a lot of mistakes in the first years I went here. I was very immature. I feel like I want to be part of something. And when you're far away from your family, from the people you love, from your friends, and the routine that and I am in a little town where nothing happens.
Right, right.
Um, it's a good life here. It's a excellent quality life. But when you don't know anything else, and then you surround with other people that are more alike like you, and
Mhm.
and everything, sometimes you just go with the flow. But
Right.
sometimes it's
The
the wrong
mob
flow.
mentality, the mob mentality you're thinking, is that it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That didn't work
So
out for you, did it?
so sometimes I feel like I didn't know how to say no to these people. Not because they obligate me to do anything. It's just because I want to be
Be
part.
inclusive, be inclusive.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I start doing things that maybe I not feel comfortable, but it was like, "Ah, whatever, yes, we can do it. We're just traveling.
Wow.
Yeah, why not? This is a new experience, different. But then next day of whatever happens, I was like, oh my gosh, if I just don't go there or don't say this, or so I start to punish myself and judging myself as well because of
Mhm.
that. It was hard to find my path because when I came here, I thought that I have everything solved, and this was a huge puzzle, and I didn't know how to even start. um, I had goals. These goals changed through the time. These goals transform into something else, something more beautiful, more better for me. But it was difficult. I think that was the most difficult thing that I ever happened. That when I start to figuring out who I am, um,
Realize.
what I want to do, if what I'm doing is right or not, if this person is good for me or for my life or no.
Mhm.
That was a path that I walked for almost 3 years until I met my husband.
Yay! So he came along at a time,
Mhm.
when you were, I don't want to say suffering, but you were going through something, a transformation, as you said.
Yes.
And that's what actually happens most of the time around the world. And that's what one of the things we teach at norm therapy is that, you find your strengths in your weaknesses,
Mhm.
not in your strengths. You find them in
Exactly.
your weaknesses. So when you go and looking for a new strength, you have to get down in the dirt and roll around for a while and be uncomfortable. And you're learning something. What did you learn out of all that before you met your husband? What did you learn?
Well, a lot of things. So when I came here, I love my family and I had a good relationship with my parents. I have just one brother. But my life was easy. I'm not gonna say that, oh, we suffer and no, thank God, my parents, they put food on the table, shelter, everything. They keep us safe. But there were a situation in my life that made me feel like I wasn't belong there, like I wasn't part of something. Um,
Will you
af-
share?
yeah, of course. For
What
example, I
situation?
feel like my parents were very how do you say, like strict with me and
Okay.
strict with me, and I suffer like physical abuse sometimes from there. Well, they thought by that time that that was the proper way to raise
Discipline,
me. And I feel like when I came here, I had so many things that I didn't solve yet with my family, with my brother.
emotional
Emotional, yes, emotional.
reconciliations.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when it and with that, I had another relationship, a really toxic relationship. So when I came here and I was alone, I feel like I knew that some of that was wrong, but I missed it because that's what I knew. And when I came here and I found people similar to this toxic relationship and these toxic uh, patterns as well, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I know this. I know that it's wrong, but I don't know what to do or if
Exactly.
I should to run. So it was like that. During the first almost 2 years here, I had like trouble finding myself because I knew that some things were wrong, but I didn't know how to change them.
Mhm.
I didn't know how to start. I feel scared. I feel alone. I want to cry. I review myself in alcohol sometimes. I'm not gonna say that I was an alcoholic, but sometimes I feel like I knew a drink to keep going.
To numb yourself, just to be numb.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. And that take me into a really dark part of my life where I feel like I didn't know what to do. I almost flew back to my country because that was my safe place. Even
yes.
if I knew that there were things that I didn't like it and the reasons why I left, I thought at some point that I'd rather be there where I know I can expect there than in this place that I doing things that I don't like it and in another language with other people. They don't know me, I don't know them. So
Have
it
you
was
ever? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we can talk. See, once we start talking, I think we'll end up in a whole hour and just have two questions. I want to get some more questions in if it's okay. Have
yes,
you
go.
ever read my paper, The Gibson Effect?
The Gibson effect
Yes.
on the new seller.
It's on Medium, I think, as well as our website, and Kelly
Okay,
can get it,
I
but it's
didn't familiar. Yeah.
yeah, the Gibson effect. It deals with the phrase familiarity breeds content and contempt. The more familiar people are with you, the closer they are to you, the more they have contentment and comfort with you,
Mhm.
or they have contempt for you and they hurt you. And so the closer you are to someone, the more vulnerable you are to them, to both loving and caring and being kind with them, as well as being hurt by them. And that's what most people who experience in their travels when they go to new places, they get involved. I think if you came from a circumstance where you were overly disciplined, this is my norm therapy hat on, where you were overly disciplined. In your estimation, now you're a woman, you're no longer a child, and you can look back on that activity and your history as an adult.
Correct.
We oftentimes misjudge ourselves and we also misjudge what actually happened to us, even though it hurt you and it stayed with you, only because there's another paper I think you should read. I think you'll get a lot out of it. It's called Dunning-Kruger. Dunning-Kruger is about how we judge ourselves. Those of us who think we're smart are normally dumb. And those of us who think we're dumb are normally smart. Basically, is what it's saying. Because we are biased when we make judgment about ourselves. So it's impossible for us to be judged. That's why most people cannot take criticism or they can't take fault because they're caught between a paradigm. If they accept fault, then they're less than a person. And if they can somehow or another explain their way from fault, then they're somehow a better person when the opposite is actually true. We can go into that another time, but I wanted to share with the audience what you were actually going through. But if you read the paper, The Gibson Effect, because you don't you wonder why you have this sign on the back of your head or on your forehead that says, okay, all of you toxic people, come to me. Come to me. Yeah, there you go. Come to me. Because you
Exactly.
said it. You said it. You answered your own question. That's all you know. So familiarity breeds content. You're familiar with that. So you're content with that, even if it's harmful and toxic. You're content. And there are ways to get through that and around it. So I was not going to let this interview continue unless we covered that. But that's what norm therapy is for, to help people come to terms and start thinking in a more than linear fashion, and more of a omnidirectional, all directions kind of way.
Exactly.
Okay, with that being said, tell us about teaching. You
Well,
love kids, though. You must love kids. Come on now.
yeah.
Tell me you do. Okay.
Yeah, really like that. Yeah. So I'm being a teacher for almost 10 years now.
Okay.
I work with little ones like kindergarten, preschool. Those are like my specialties.
Okay.
I've
Well,
been working with other kids, but most of the time with little ones. Then when I came here, I start volunteering as an ESL teacher, English as a second language, because I want to improve and I know how you struggle with a new language. So
yes.
now I'm working with the Catholic Church here in the
Okay.
place I live,
Mhm.
and I work with immigrants as well. They are from other countries and they don't speak Spanish. Most of them speak Arabic, Haiti. They're
Mhm.
from other refugee countries and they come
Mhm.
here and they work. They want to improve their lives and
The
they want to
language.
learn English. Most of them
Mhm.
are adults. So it's been a huge and amazing experience for me because one thing is working with kids, but working with adults is another challenge and it's beautiful. And I switched my job a couple of weeks ago. Now I'm working with another organization who help immigrants as well, but there are children. So they help these children that for some reason they are separate from their families when they cross the border. Most of them speak Spanish. Most of them are Latino Americanos kids. And this is a beautiful organization as well because they help these kids to improve their lives, to found their families or a contact here in USA.
Mhm.
They provide shelter, food until they can be relocated with their families.
That is truly amazing. Wow, you bless your heart. Wow. I mean, it's giving. I mean, this is probably why you and Kelly, our global executive director of the foundation of our 501(c)(3, it's not a it's a public charity. Um, it's probably why you guys get along so well, because she's that kind of person.
Yeah,
And she'll
yes,
call
it
me,
has a big
put,
heart.
she'll call me, put her phone in her thingy next to her air conditioning as she's driving, like every weekend. And we're on video talking like, yeah, we got this to do this coming week. Yeah, we got that to do. And then I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, you know, I have extra food. And so I don't want it to rot since I'm not cooking for anyone these days. She says, so she makes these beautiful meals and write these handwritten notes, puts it in a bag, and she drives around every Saturday and she gives out the food.
Wow.
I listen, I'm a grown special forces Green Beret guy, and I be like trying to hold back my tears, like, yeah, you gotta take care. Yeah, you go do that.
Yes, she's an
Absolutely.
amazing
This-
person as well.
She truly is. So one heart after another heart. That's what I see when I'm talking to you, because I can see you guys getting along very well. Um, But being a teacher, especially to adults, what I normally do when I go to a foreign country and I want to meet people, the first thing I do is I go to any English school, teaching school, and I volunteer. I don't even take pay. I volunteer and say, I want to teach English, but I want to teach English at the best school. And they go, really? Yeah. And then I go in. Luckily, I know subjunctive and preterite and all those different tenses very well. And most of the time, people don't know those. And I know how to help people enunciate English. There's a few tricks I teach them that I learned from the Defense Language Institute some years ago. And then all of a sudden, I'm teaching the son of the president or the general of the army, his nephew, something like that. Then the parents come, I get to meet all the top bankers and people in the country. And next thing you know, I'm in the in crowd. And but it's just a good way to segue your life into other kinds of people who can actually help you. Now, some can hurt you, but mostly when you find people trying to better themselves, it's cultural, but it's also familiar.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. So tell me, what have your experiences been with teaching and the kinds of parents and people that you run into out there?
Well, with the English class, it's been amazing because these people are, well, some of them are being here for a long time and they just start learning English. So they are like kids, they're afraid, they don't like to speak because they don't want to make a mistake.
Right.
Um, but it's like playing with kids, let them be kids again, let them commit mistakes, and with the time they are more open, they speak more with you. So I don't try to do my class like, okay, we're gonna learn this verb and that's it. I try to talk to them about their lives, their routines, what are they doing, so we feel more familiar, since the
Absolutely.
classes are online most of the time. um,
Hmm.
because some of they can um, go to other places, so their houses is the best time to take the class. And this is creating a huge community. Some of them now they know each other. Now we can talk each other about more things out of the classrooms. They feel like there's support here. They are not alone anymore. They meet other people from their countries as well that they live near to
Yeah.
them. So we are creating
Commonality. They need some commonality around it. I like
exactly. So it's nice to see them um, being responsible with they want to do commitments, and
progress.
exactly see them progress.
Progress is everything. I mean, but we so hard on ourselves. So I'm glad you make it fun. You make it interesting what you do instead of, are you going to learn this verb today and then we're going to, we're going to look at all the conjunctions and all of the
Yeah,
preterites and all of the subjunctives, and we're going to, break that verb down in different tenses. I'm glad you do it better than that. I like that very much. Okay,
okay.
so what are your goals for the next 10 years?
Oh, my goals for the next 10 years. Let me think. To travel. I really want to travel. I want to learn more languages now. Now that I feel like I'm more comfortable with my English, I feel like I now move to other
Mhm.
countries and work with these communities. I really enjoy, since I'm working as a volunteer and now with this organization, I really think that when you're close to people and you show them that there is kindness around you, um,
Yes.
the world is better. The communities are better, people are more comfortable, they trust in each other, and they build something strong. So I really like
Brought you
to.
to Arrow? What brought you to Arrow? I'm gonna cut you
uh,
off. I don't want to run out of
well,
time. We'll run
was
out
the
of.
same. Yeah,
It's like
when
I've been knowing you 100 years. So I'm sorry. Forgive me. I get this in. I think your point's very valid. Your goals in life, um, they encompass everything about you. You need to get out into the world more. Everybody does. And you need to have those kinds of eclectic experiences and bring them back into you.
Mhm.
I think that's very commendable and right on target.
Yes.
I need to ask you why norm therapy and arrow? Why?
Well, Arrow has a beautiful vision. You help all kind of survivors. We call them here. So when I learned the word, I stopped talking myself as a victim. I'm a survivor as well, and that changed my mind
Yes, it
completely. So, so Arrow taught me that. I feel like the vision you have with Arrow and art therapy is amazing, and I feel like more people should know about this, about all the kind of things that you can do for your life as a survivor.
wonderful. And being a survivor, and I didn't want to highlight too much on your abuse, but I wanted people to know what kind of abuse it was. This is not the forum for it, but we do have online sessions that we'll be starting in the future. So if you want to do that, or private sessions, if you want to do that, of course, we'll do that as well.
Mhm.
But sometimes when you've been disciplined so much in your life and you were physically and or mentally coerced into certain kinds of behavior, it comes back at you over the years and throughout the course of your life. And if you don't deal with it at some point, it will someday deal with you. You have to deal with it before it deals with you. That's how your victim mentality went to a survivor mentality, because you start dealing with it instead of having it deal with you. I think
Exactly.
that's the most important part of what you just said. And I like to just remind the audience, uh, for future reference, is that how do you know normal if you've never had normal? And that's what you have experienced. And it's, without going into too much detail here, uh, I think that now you know what your normal looks like for you, and what matters to you and your husband and the family you'll one day have, and your vision for travel, your vision for learning other languages, your vision for understanding and being a part of more. I think that helps your normal to become solidified, and then reach out and reach in and take all that clutter out of your life and bring you clarity. Because the three tenets of norm therapy are clarity and assessing that clarity. And out of that clarity, find truth.
Fine.
And a lot of times you know the girl, the one with the black eye and the bloodied mouth and the broken rib. And she's walking up to you and she says to you, "He loves me." She's been lying to herself a long time to do that. They'll defend the beatings. They will defend the denigration. They will defend the absolute toxic environment, because what? They've been conditioned, and that's all they know. Yeah. And so I'm so happy to see your life on this trajectory. You have no idea. But I wanted to say all that to ask you another question. You are meeting with people all the time, and they're from different countries. If in your observing eye, what kinds of abuses do you think they are experiencing?
Financial abuse is very common on these communities, especially on women. Isolation abuse as well, like they feel like they can go anywhere. Psychological and physical sometimes. I didn't see too much physical on grown-ups, but I do on children, and it's pretty hard to see them that way. Political abuse in some communities, especially those that they are more conservative. So I see in that. Most of that, those are the most abuse that I'm seeing in these communities.
And and I think because that's a vulnerable community, people without the language skill, number one, but also a new place, a new I'm here in America kind of deal. I always tell people this kind of as a joke, but it's real. You know, I've never really believed in the American dream, so to speak. I think America is what you make it, period. That's it. And I always tell people in a joking manner, I say, you know, in order to enjoy the American dream, you must be asleep. Because if you are asleep, you're going to miss it. You have to make your own dream in America, is what it should be, instead of come here, enjoy the American dream. Because if you're going to dream anything, you got to be asleep. So I think you, with your eyes wide open, taking advantage of the American dream. And I think I like that. I think you are a sterling example for people, especially of the Hispanic and or Latin and or Mexican or Spanish cultures, which encompasses most of that diaspora, I think. But I think that you're an excellent example of the people who should be allowed entry into the United States or any other country for that matter. And of course, be given the benefit of accessing everything you can to make you the stellar citizen that you are today. And that's not a bad thing at all. And I don't want to keep harping on it because it's so stereotypic what mainstream America, that means especially a lot of white people or a lot of Black people, and even existing third and fourth generation people of Latin descent or Mexican or any other Spanish speaking descent, is they believe that everybody is somehow or another inferior to them. And they're taught that through racism, through xenophobia, through segregation, through a lot of things that have happened in the history of the United States. It is not their fault for believing what they believe. But I think you do an excellent job educating people about who you are. That thing you said a minute ago, how you sit down and you say, okay, I used to get upset at this, but now I think I'll educate you. I think I'll help you along a little bit.
Yes.
How is that working for you?
Now I feel so much better. What you say, that once I was talking with my husband and he said that the American dream, he was similar to what you say, but he said like the dream is the same for everybody. Everybody wants to be happy, to reach their goals. So it doesn't matter which country it is. The reason that most of the migrants came here is because we believe that we can have a better life for ourselves and for our families. So most of the people who migrate to this country are thinking not just in them, but in their families that they left behind in their country. And I think that's what makes the difference between the people who lives here, who are from here, because when I speak with them, sometimes they say, I never even went out of the state. So I live in Pennsylvania. Most people just know Pennsylvania and the towns around here, and they don't know anything else. They even go to New York or for different reasons, right? So that's why they are in this box. But when
we call them bubbles in the United States. These are bubbles. Yeah.
Bubbles, like bubble, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you start to speaking with other people who migrate to this country, and you feel like they have dreams, they are happy no matter what kind of job they're doing, because most of the times the jobs that that nobody wants to do here, migrant people are the ones who are doing it. Spanish speakers are the ones who are doing it. So I feel like that takes courage, and it helps us to remind every time that we take a step forward, that we have a reason, and most of the people don't understand those reasons because they don't live what we live.
Outside of themselves. You see, you have hit a grand slam home run with me, because most people can't see what you just said. You know, if you only know Pennsylvania, then Pennsylvania will be how you operate for the rest of your life. That's just how it is. As soon as you get outside of Pennsylvania or any state or any location in the world, it's when you become more impactful with your knowledge base, because now you're looking at it from 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 15 different perspectives. And once you can do that, because abuse in America is different from abuse in Nigeria, that's different from abuse in Colombia, that's different from abuse in, you name the place, all abuse is different. And it's impactful in a different way, especially from a cultural point of view. Because sometimes you can go to a country, and I've been there, where beating on your wife is normal. She accepts it, he accepts it, the government accepts it, the culture accepts it, and that's just it. You're not going to change that, not in a million years. But you go right next door to the next country, and it's prohibited by law. And this is something that we're building on right now. I'll quickly tell you, then I'll ask you a few questions from the audience. What actually happens is, we had about a few months ago, back in September, August, September of last year, we established our think tank, where we took 14 PhDs from around the world into our think tank, and we started to develop an abuse matrix. Now, this project is being worked on now, where we're identifying across the world right now all of the abuses and the differences between the complexity of those abuses, and in context with the location and the individual, or the sex, or the actual age of that person. We're working that out now. So we'll be a definitive guide for pretty much all the abuse on the planet. Plus, we're adding alcohol and drug abuse to our list of abuses. Once we finish getting those appropriate licensures and trainings done, we're going to do that as well. I'm going to incorporate that into our norm therapy course. But And we have a different way of dealing with that. I've never agreed. I think group is very effective, but I think self-denigration is not. I think when you stand up and say, I'm a terrible human being and I did this bad and that's a blah, 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 and I'm a piece of crap and I've not had a drink or a smoke or a pill in 150 days or 5 years, whatever that number is. And I have a coin that tells me that. Then I stand up as often as I can. And I continue to reiterate that. I think there's a better way. I think we found it through norm therapy, and it's very effective. I've dealt with people who had drug addictions in norm therapy. They've had alcohol problems. They had PTSD and a lot of other things. And we've seemed to have helped them. And we're going to talk more about that in the future. Because I want you in our next norm therapy class to become a norm therapist, by the way. But that's a whole nother conversation. So let me ask you a question from the audience. How do you deal with people looking down on you for being of Spanish-speaking descent and from a foreign country in the United States? How do you deal with that?
Um, well, I don't let them make me feel bad. I feel like they don't know me and I don't know them. So wherever I go, I speak freely. When I have to speak English, of course, I do. But that I speak Spanish help me to understand that this is my culture, this is my root, and I'm very proud
Yes.
of this. And Spanish help me to reach more goals actually. So for me, it's been a blessing to be a Spanish speaker. It gave me a lot of new opportunities. It helped me to know more people, beautiful people now, who value where am I, not just because I speak or know Spanish, where I'm from, but the kind of person I am. So when some people are like, oh, you should to speak in English because we are in this country, I just ignore it. And I keep speaking Spanish like, you're not talking with me, you're speaking in English, so go talk with someone else.
Look at
But
the
I
name
don't
of
let
this
them,
program.
yeah, I don't let them make me feel bad because I know who I am now.
Look at the name of this program. Socialization of abuse. That's exactly what you did. People socialize abuse. They want to take you off of your focus to get you onto theirs because they'll never do the things that you're going to do. Most people won't do it. So they're always trying to pull you down or pull you over or even pull you up to what they're doing. It's not necessarily always a downward move. It could be an upward move, but that's not beneficial for you. And so in your life and your goals and what makes you happy and strong, people do that. There's a saying, another saying for you to remember. If you can remember this one, then we're okay. People always want you to do better. They do. They just don't want you to do better than them.
That's
If you
correct.
notice people, they'll help you up until a point where you're going to do better than them. Then they stop. That's not because they're bad people. Not at all. It's because fear. In every abuse on the planet, doesn't matter the abuse, all the ones you mentioned, all the ones that we champion, there's an element of fear in every abuse. And normally that fear is what allows you to be taken advantage of or allow you, because most people think the most prevalent abuse in the world is child abuse or spousal abuse. That's not it. By a long shot, not. The most prevalent abuse in the world is self-abuse. People abuse themselves because they limit their knowledge to their bubble. And so wherever they are, they're going to continue that toxic behavior. They think that their relationships that they're looking for are actually beneficial in the future when they're not, because they're finding the same characteristics and identifiable victim markers in where they are. I could talk to you all day. I think you're a great conversationalist. Your English is extremely well, by the way.
Thank you so much.
You know, one of the things I used to teach people when they were speaking Spanish, just as an anecdote, if you turn off one of your senses, this is a whole special operations thing because we all go to language school, and some of the different teachers that we had that taught us different languages. And then we go spend years in those areas of operation. One of the things I found with Spanish is Spanish speakers who want to totally sound like an American if that's what they want. When you speak Spanish, watch your mouth. Just pay attention. Look in the mirror at your mouth. People who speak Spanish hardly ever open their mouth. Mira, ¿qué está pasando contigo en toda esa cosa? Mira, voy para tu casa a las 3 de la tarde. Okay. My mouth never opened. English, hey, how are you? What time are you coming over there today? A lot of people think that English is Latin, and it is not. It's Germanic. It's German. It's from German. But there is about 10% of English is Latin. So that's where people screw up. Once your brain is a psych hack, it's a psychological hack. Once your brain hears English or feels English correctly, it never forgets it because you have two sides of your brain. You have of course, the logical side, then you have the creative side. If you want to, language is an art. Second language is an art. First language is a science and it's on your logical side. But the second language, English, is your second language, so it should be on an artful side of your brain. In order to transfer that knowledge to your permanent side, your logical side, and be able to retrieve that information, you must have a bridge. And normally a lack, believe it or not, a lack of senses will get it there. And I'll show you an example. If you say, how are you today? Just say it, how are you today?
How are you today?
Okay. Now, say it in Spanish. ¿Cómo estás hoy? Say,
¿Cómo estás hoy?
okay. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you, not like in Spanish, I want you to over enunciate how are you today, but tap both your ears. Just put both your ears, just tap them, close them like that. Then say, how are you?
How are you?
10,000 times better.
Oh
Then
yeah, I feel it here, yeah.
You can feel it. See, and it's your brain. Your brain is much smarter than any computer on the planet, any 100 computers put together on the planet. Once you feel it the right way and hear it the right way, like you said it without any Hispanic or accent or anything else. No South American, nothing accent. Most people don't know that Colombia is in South America, so I just mentioned that. But since you weren't trying to say it, you weren't forcing it from your creative side to your logical side, it automatically went there on its own. Sometimes just close off your sense. If you want to say something absolutely correct and enunciate it well, just close your ears off. You can still hear it, but it's more of a feeling and an understanding, and your brain takes over and gets it into the right place, and you'll never forget it again. That's one of the tricks that I used to teach people in order to get rid of their accents. In any language, it works. But you got to watch the mouth first. The mouth tells you, do you talk like this or do you talk like this?
Yeah, that's an excellent hack. Thank you so much. I'm gonna teach them to my students as well.
I enjoyed you today.
Yeah, because it's hard. Sometimes you want to say some words and I'm still struggling with some words because I don't really know how to say them and I never hear them before. So I just read them and I say whatever I think it is.
But that's good too. Those mistakes that you make doing that, you'll always be able to compensate in the future because you know you made a mistake and you built upon that. And now that mistake becomes one of your strengths, so to speak. I like that. Okay, I have to read this. Give me 1 second. If you've enjoyed, and I don't really need to read it, I know what it says, but I like to go down chronologically. If you've enjoyed and got something out of today's sessions, please show your support by sharing this video, subscribing to our channel, and liking it. But of course, make a comment or two. That would be great. Thank you. Please go to goarrow.org. Now, at the top of the page on the right, there's a thing called a donate button. Donate to our organization. That's how we get everything done. And that's how we get to help people around the world. And also go to normatherapy.com. And if you want sessions there, you can actually pay for sessions at Norm Therapy and have a Norm therapist that's been trained by our organization. And sometimes you'll get me that we will, of course, provide you that service. If you're interested in applying and participate, don't forget to do that. And if you want to join sessions for victims and survivors, as well as anything else I've discussed, even to become a norm therapist, reach out to contact@normtherapy.com. Thank you for joining us as we look forward to seeing you again on May 16th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be having a panel discussion with our norm therapy department head, Kim Carpenter, and one of our senior, most amazing, who spent a lot of time with me actually in norm therapy sessions, Lisa Kabulo from Kenya. She'll be doing this from Kenya. We have norm therapists all over the world, by the way. She's also the training and doctrine supervisor for the company. We'll be discussing the topic of Life 101, life and its complexities, and every kind of relationship and courage and confidence. And where does that come from? And once you have it, once you have courage and confidence, what are you going to do with it? And where do you go from there? Thank you, Paula. You're an amazing person. I love your personality. You have a great work ethic. I think you are a shining example for many people, whether they speak the language or not. I think you are absolutely a beacon of hope. So anything you want to share with our audience before we leave?
Thank you to you, Michael, and the organization to make me part of this and for interviewing me today. I hope we can enjoy more sessions, how we can keep working together, and I hope that people subscribe here and understand what norm therapy it is, because it opens your eyes.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. I went over a little bit over, but I enjoyed all of my sessions, by the way. But I really enjoyed speaking with you today. And so have a
Okay.
great day and talk
Thank
to
you,
you.
Michael. You too. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.